Dr. Peterson, I don't know if you also saw this, but I recently came across this scene of young Japanese infants. They're being stimulated by their own mothers to leave their own homes, go into the markets, grab groceries, and return home.
Right.
And
there's a TV series that's documenting that. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. It's like free-range children.
We were very impressed because in Brazil, there's this much paternalistic sense in trying to protect your kids at every turn, at every point, if you have the means to do so.
Yeah.
And I mean, once I'm not going to wear, I mean, just trying to paint this or try to relativize this. I had definitely a privileged background. I went to the best schools here in Brazil. And it was commonplace for us to go with bulletproof cars into schools. And it was a permanent sense of urgency, and in order not to be the next victim. Within Brazilian widespread violence that has been characterizing Brazilian streets and urban life for so long.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Well, somewhat you digress. I mean, this is actually one of the dangers of wealth.
Yeah.
You know, wealth deprives people of necessity.
Yep.
And that's a form of entrapment, and it can produce, exactly as you implied, it can produce what you're seeing all across the West, which is the hyper-dependence of over-sheltered children. And that's not good. So here's another way of thinking about it.
Please.
Well, there's a serpent in the garden, right? What does that mean? It means that even God himself can't make a structured space that doesn't have some outside danger in it. Okay, so then you might ask, well, what's the medication for the eternal serpent? And you could say, well, we could just get rid of all the serpents. No threat. Or you could say, no, we could train everyone to handle snakes. Right? Now, Christ makes allusion to that in the Gospels when he says that his followers will become wise handlers of serpents. And people take that literally. But what it means is that it's exactly what it means if you're a good father. Are you going to wrap your children in styrofoam and store them somewhere safe in the basement so that nothing ever could possibly harm them? Or are you going to train them to dance even with danger so that you can send them out into the world where they can have their adventure and prevail?
The latter.
Well, right. So then you could see that there's something that's very useful to realize about that, because people bemoan the cruelty of the world, the unfair suffering that characterizes the world. And fair enough, because the world is definitely a vale of tears. But by the same token, what we want for our children isn't safety at all cost. We want them to be able to wrestle with the catastrophe of the world and to prevail. And we decide in our deepest spirit that encouraging your children to become competent wrestlers of dragons is much better than protecting them. And so you can extend that up into the idea of the divine itself. It's that what God wants for us is to be the people who can contend with death and malevolence and prevail. And that's an adventure. That's an adventure.
So most definitely it is.